once again been a real privilege to work with the group. One of the nice things of coming back to Butlins each year is we seem to have very familiar faces that come to drama each year. Some change, but then there are those that are forever with us, and it's great to work with them again. And this week we looked at, we're talking about the fact that Jesus was a great storyteller, and that so much of his ministry was about telling stories. And one of the things that I said to the folk here was that the important thing was that Jesus knew his audience. He knew who he was talking to, so he made sure that his stories related to the people he was talking to. The trouble is, 2,000 years later, very often some of the stories that Jesus told don't have the same impact, because we live in a different times, and different things mean different things to people of today than they would have 2,000 years ago. So the challenge with any drama where you're retelling Jesus' story is making the story relevant. So we've taken a well-known parable. This is interestingly enough because this parable, this sketch was first written in the 1970s by a company called Riding Lights Theatre Company. Do you remember them? They are still around. And it was known as the parable of the good punk rocker. Well, strangely enough, even 25, 30 years later, a thing about a punk rocker actually is a little bit out of time, a little bit relevant. So it's actually an updated version of an updated version, if you see what I mean. And so this is our updated version of an updated version of the parable of the Good Samaritan.
Welcome to Eurostar. Bitte ansteigen and Türen schließen.
There is a train on its way to London from Munich and Bonn via Paris and somewhere in Kent. The train was full of members of the British National Front Party.
Rule Britannia! Britannia rules the waves! Britain never shall be slaves!
And supporters of the England football team.
Rule Britannia! Britannia rules the waves!
Who had just been entertained by another goalless draw. So, to cheer themselves up, they had a fight. Which made them feel much better.
I feel great!
Except for one BNP member who had been stabbed in the neck and left for dead. Now, on that train was a Buddhist surgeon from Amsterdam who felt disturbed by the situation. So, she shut herself in the toilet and meditated. Also on the train was an animal rights campaigner from Surrey who had been campaigning in Europe about the slaughter of dumb animals.
I really care about the cows! I really care about the little cows!
She stepped over the wounded man on her way to the buffet car for a salad sandwich. Also on that train was Mr. Deepak Patel, an Asian businessman from Leicester, who was on his way back from a conference in Switzerland. He saw the man, his shaven head, his ugly face, his boots and Union Jack, he raised his fist and pulled the emergency cord. He phoned for help. Gave the man €500 to cover his medical treatment and saw him onto the ambulance. Now, where Mr. Patel lived, Asian homes were attacked. His children got beaten up. But there were plenty of doctors and plenty of social activists. But when it came to the crunch, who was prepared to cross cultural barriers, show solidarity with the oppressed, and promote the bond of social cohesion within the heart of the European community? Who helped the thug? Yes, Nigella. Yes. Who showed love, 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 love. Jesus said, go and do the same. Love, love, love your neighbour. Love, love,